The message she didn't delete. It began with a mistake. Linda was not looking for anything when she replied to the message. She was simply cleaning out her inbox on a quiet Tuesday evening, sorting newsletters from bills, promotions from reminders. That was when she saw his name, Mark Reynolds, her former supervisor, the man she hadn't spoken to in nearly 8 years. The message was harmless, almost polite. "I don't know why I thought of you today. I hope you're well." She stared at the screen longer than she meant to. At 61, Linda considered herself careful, loyal, predictable. She had been married for 38 years, raised 2 children, learned the art of compromise and silence in equal measure. She typed a reply. That was the mistake. Mark had always been easy to talk to. At work, years ago, he had noticed her competence when others overlooked it. He remembered details, asked questions, made her feel briefly less invisible. Their messages stayed light at first. Updates about retirement, shared memories of old colleagues, a mutual laugh about how young everyone seemed back then. Then one evening, Mark wrote something different. "Do you ever miss who you used to be?" Linda hesitated before answering. She did. Her husband, Paul, was a good man, dependable, kind in quiet ways. But over time, conversation had thinned, replaced by routine, meals eaten side by side, television filling the space where words once lived. Mark's messages arrived with curiosity, with attention, with a familiarity that felt both safe and dangerous. Nothing physical happened, nothing needed to. The intimacy grew in the pauses between replies, in the things she didn't tell her husband, in the way she began checking her phone first thing in the morning. Linda told herself it was harmless. Until it wasn't. Paul noticed the change not because Linda acted suspicious, but because she grew distant, thoughtful, somewhere else even when she was home. One night, as they washed dishes together, he asked gently, "Is something bothering you?" She almost told him then. Instead, she said, "I'm just tired." The lie felt heavier than she expected. The message she couldn't delete arrived 2 weeks later. "I wish we had met later in life," Mark wrote, "when things were simpler." Linda read it 3 times. Nothing explicit, nothing improper, and yet everything was wrong. She understood then that what they shared was no longer innocent. It had crossed a line she could not uncross without consequence. She didn't reply. She sat at the kitchen table, phone face down, listening to the familiar sounds of her home. Paul turning pages in the living room, the clock ticking steadily forward. At her age, starting over felt impossible, but so did continuing with a secret. The next morning, Linda told her husband the truth. Not every word, not every message, but enough. Paul listened quietly. His hurt was not loud. It was restrained, dignified, and devastating. "I wish," he said slowly, "you had told me you were lonely." So did she. The messages stopped. Mark never wrote again. What remained was not a broken marriage, but a shaken one. Linda and Paul began speaking again, awkwardly, carefully, about aging, about fear, about the ways people drift without meaning to. The message she didn't delete changed everything, not because of what it said, but because of what it revealed. Sometimes betrayal begins not with desire, but with silence, and sometimes choosing honesty is the last chance to stay.